You know,
Okay.
you continue using all these buzzwords, apartheid, genocide, and those aren't what those words actually mean. But I do want to clarify a few things that you commented on.
It's
And the
nice
first
of you
of
to
which is
dispute
that I
them, but
shouldn't be
Amnesty
speaking
International, Human
that I
Rights
shouldn't
Watch,
be
and the
that
UN
I
disagree
shouldn't
with
be
you.
speaking about killing children. There is a massive difference between a defensive war targeting terrorist targets that are using civilian sites, including UN schools, including hospitals, endangering their own people in the Gaza Strip, something that they themselves have admitted, and
No,
the
that's a lie.
invading of the
right
sovereign
now, you're
borders
just
of a
literally
foreign
inventing
country
facts.
and murdering children in their
No,
home
but
on a
Emily,
Jewish
all right,
holiday.
let me ask
There
Emily
is
a
no
question.
moral
Emily,
equivalence.
Gaza is not a defensive war.
let
It's
me
a war
ask
of
Emily.
occupation.
Let me
It is
ask. Let
absolutely
me.
a defensive
Excuse
war.
me.
It's in
Israel did
defense
not
of
start this
apartheid and
war.
If you could
imprisoning
stop shouting
Palestinians,
over
but
each other,
that's what Israel is defending in Gaza.
let me ask Emily a question, and it's this: Emily, look, I think Israel had a right to defend itself, a duty to defend itself, but we now have, as we've heard, I think it's 12,000 children believed to have been killed. Another 20,000 or so have been orphaned. 2/3 of Gaza has been flattened. And here Benjamin Netanyahu says after 4 months, well, we're nowhere near finished. There's months more of this. We will continue until the last Hamas terrorist is gone. Okay, but that may mean the entire Gaza Strip is gone, destroyed, flattened. It may mean, well, hang on. It may mean the number of children killed doubles to 20,000, maybe 30,000. At what point does this become, even to people who support Israel implacably about this, does it become just utterly disproportionate?
Well, I think proportionality isn't the actual question here. There's a very easy way to end this war, and that is to return all of the hostages and to surrender unconditionally. That is what Hamas should be doing. That is where the focus and the pressure of the international community.
Hang on, but Emily, that would not.
Of course it would.
That
Those
would
are Israel's,
Benjamin
those are Israel's
Netanyahu.
two demands.
No, hang on. Benjamin Netanyahu has stated unequivocally this goes on until Hamas are finished, all of them. That means That means another 20,000 people have to be killed, right? Who are just the terrorists.
No.
So he's not going to stop if the hostages got released tomorrow.
But that's not true. I said
Netanyahu,
the unconditional,
Emily, let me finish.
Let
me finish my question.
Of Hamas.
I don't think Prime Minister Netanyahu has any intention, even if the hostages get returned tomorrow, of letting 20,000 Hamas terrorists remain in power in Gaza. He's going to continue.
But I already said that. I said the release of hostages and the unconditional surrender of Hamas. Hamas cannot remain in power in the Gaza Strip and have Israel restore a sense of security. Those two things cannot coexist. That is why Netanyahu said we will not accept any term in which Hamas stays in power, because they will do the same thing again. And the longer this goes on, the longer they stay in power, the more funding. I think the most recent document said 150 million went through Sinwar in the documents that the IDF found on the ground. The more money that Iran is funding,
but Emily, you cannot just
the stronger Hamas is.
You cannot just kill everybody in Gaza. You can't.
Israel is not intending to kill everyone in Gaza.
If they carry on for many more months,
we are risking.
They carry on for many more months. How many people are going to get killed?
No.
I can't answer that question as to how many people are going to be killed, but I can tell you that not a single, not even one more person would be killed if Hamas surrendered unconditionally today.
All right, I want to find. Listen, we have a.
Can I suggest something?
Yes.
May I make a suggestion? Since Netanyahu and his government have, before October 7th, have already, and previous Israeli governments have murdered more civilians than Hamas ever did. Why don't we flip this equation and say that the hostages will be released once Netanyahu and his government are taken to The Hague and charged with war crimes? I think it makes much more sense. The Israelis have killed far more Palestinian children and Palestinian civilians than Hamas or any Palestinians ever have. Israeli attacks on Gaza preceded Hamas by decades. Israeli attacks in the West Bank go on. Israeli attacks in Jerusalem go on where Hamas is not in charge.
Okay.
So, I mean, this whole Hamas excuse is ridiculous.
Okay.
Why don't we do this?
Okay.
Let's wait till we remove Netanyahu's government and then negotiate. I think that should be the condition. And the Israeli military, which is a genocidal terrorist organization, is disarmed and dismantled. That will be a good time.
Okay, let me give the final word to the Palestinian on the panel, which is you, Omar.
Look, we have to stop this pretense that Israel is engaging in accidental violence in which Palestinian civilians are killed. Every major human rights organization in the world, including, by the way, Israeli human rights organizations, document that the Israeli military is engaging in indiscriminate violence against civilians. And that is why the International Court of Justice has found that there is actually a plausible case for Israel being engaged in genocidal violence in Gaza. And that should tell you something. And we have to stop pretending that you can kill this many people on accident. And just one issue with something that you mentioned, Piers, I don't think this is a question of proportionality. We have to be clear about what Israel is doing here. This is not an act of self-defense, because an occupier can never, in principle, be defending themselves against the people they're occupying. If we are serious, once again, what Israel is doing in Gaza, if they wanted self-defense,
there were zero Israelis in Gaza on October 6th. Zero.
Inside,
Gaza is not
but they
occupied.
controlled Gaza. They bombed it at will whenever they wanted to, and they prevented Palestinians in Gaza from going in and out.
You never mention
it was
Egypt.
still
No responsibility for
occupier.
Egypt.
You know what?
Everything is always Israel's fault.
Emily, the
I'm
problem.
sorry.
The problem with that
You're still
argument.
wrong.
The problem with that argument is this: is that when it wanted to, at the start of this war, Israel had the power and capability to turn off the energy into Gaza, to turn off the internet, to turn off the water, to turn off the food supply. That is a form of occupation, even if you're not physically inside Gaza.
That's actually false.
What
That's
Israel
actually
is
false.
defending
Israel
is
wasn't
a
able to turn off all of the water. Yes, it is. They only control 30%
Not
of the
all
water.
of it, but
They
it was
only
able to
control
turn it off for a
10%
lot
of
of
the
people.
electricity.
I don't think Israel should have that power over any Palestinians.
If Israel was
And
interested
I don't think
in
that a terrorist organization should be ruling Palestinians either.
I don't think that. I agree with you about
Organization is
that.
ruling Israel.
I
What's
agree
wrong
with you.
it?
I agree with you on that point,
Organization
Emily.
with nuclear powers ruling Israel.
Okay, listen. I've got to bring it. I've got to bring it to an end. It was a good debate. Thank you. I've got to leave it there. I'm sorry. We've run out of time. We've gone longer than I was expecting to.